everybody. Welcome to Dakman Productions and welcome to the Large Scale Consolidated live show. And Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. I hope everybody had a great Christmas day. And thank you for joining us and taking the time out from your family to watch our live show tonight. We decided to go ahead and have the live show on Christmas Thursday night. And so we do have some things in store for you. But before I move on, I would like to bring up my co-host, Mr. Andrew Fitch, MrPictovid. If you could join us on our live stream tonight, and then we'll go over some names of some people here.
Hello, Sean.
How's it going?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, you're coming in good.
I just don't look so good, right? I can't do anything about that. I don't think I have any bags put over my head or anything, but
So welcome as the co-host. And so I would like to go over some people who are in the stream tonight. So it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, that Stay Loaded was the first one here?
Yeah, he was actually here a week ago.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for being so early. We got Kyle Kelper. We have Southern Illinois G Scale. He might be a new one. I don't recognize his name.
Southern Illinois G Scale.
Yeah.
Sean, you're losing it. That's Matt Russell.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it's been a long Christmas day for me, so I've been up pretty early. Cody Reisinger, and then we have Canadian Railroads, and then I'm scrolling through, and let's see who else we have. Bruce Morrill from North Jersey, and so far I'm still scrolling. Columbus Garden Railway Society, thank you for coming to our show. And then we have Nuke 1111, and then Mystic Southern Railway. He's another one who's always on Cross Tankers Railroads. Jeffrey Evans and Timothy Kennard. So if I'm screwing up your names, I'm sorry. Darian Fox. Okay, so that looks like that's everybody who that I see so far in the live stream. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to go back and mute the other channel.
Oh, I was wondering what you were doing over there.
Yeah, I almost forgot. So at any rate, I would like to welcome our guest aboard. If you could bring him up, Andrew.
I can add him to the stream. I don't know if I can bring him up. I'd have to drive 45 minutes. You know, he doesn't live like next door to me. Let's see here. Hey, there he is.
And we have Jonathan Strazinsky, the fish guy.
Choo-choo boy.
I did not set that name. Let's be clear about this.
Welcome to our live stream, Jonathan.
It's a pleasure to be here. Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you too.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas, Andrew.
I forgot to go. I'm sorry. Yes, Merry Christmas. I forgot I was going to get myself a Santa hat to wear, but when I was at the store and got to the register, it had no tag on it, and the lady looked puzzled at me, and I thought, I'm not going back to go find one with a tag on it. Just have to look at me without a hat, I guess.
I know they're 99 cents at the dollar store.
Oh, wow.
Can I go buy one right now? You think?
Yeah. I live right next door to one. You want me to run up and get one? I'll run it down to you.
But so we'll move forward here. So, Jonathan, let's talk a little bit about your railroad, your Garden Railway, and a little bit about you. So, how did you get into the G-Scale Garden Railway hobby?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story. I was a contractor for 25 years, and about 10 or 11 years ago, I was on a job, and he had a small track going around the perimeter of his screened-in porch. And knowing about the track and about the trains myself, and not having any at the time, I actually built a platform to cover part of the track where I was working. I was replacing a post that had rotted out on his screened-in porch. And he came home, and I was still working, and he was quite impressed that I took the time to make sure that nothing got damaged with his track or with the trains or anything like that. And then about a year later, he calls me up and he says, "Hey, you have kids? Come on over. I got something for you." So what I ended up getting was a New York Central F3 AB set and about 10 cars and about 65 feet of track. And at that point, it was kind of like a pipe dream for me to have G-Scale. I never really thought I'd have it. Never really thought I would invest in it or anything like that. And I don't know, I would have to say about 4 months later, that was about 300 feet of track, 7 engines, and 25 cars. And it just has snowballed since then. So that's how I got started in G. I was given a set from a customer.
Wow.
That's very unbelievable. Model railroading never snowballs ever.
Yeah.
No, things never get out of control.
So, when you went to build your own garden railroad after receiving this set, you just mentioned you're a contractor by trade. How did that trade end up helping you decide how to build your G-Scale railroad?
Well, having been involved in jobs that involved actually pavers like sidewalks or pathways to a pool or anything like that, I thought that the product that they use as a base would be the perfect product to use as roadbed, and it is essentially 411 limestone, and it's compacted, it's tamped into place. And I thought, well, that's a great idea because then it'll never move. And as a matter of fact, what they use after that is limestone screenings, and they use a vibrating compactor to tamp that material before they lay their pavers down. And I thought, that's a great idea, but it also looks roughly about the right size scale to use as ballast. So why not use it as ballast also? And essentially that's how I built phase one, was tamping 411 limestone, which is essentially 3/4 inch rocks about that big, all the way down to dust. And what happens is it locks in together, and over time, after moisture collects in it, it's solid as Sears. I don't know how solid Sears is anymore, but it's like concrete. So it's actually worked out incredibly well, better than I ever anticipated as far as my roadbed is concerned in phase one. And actually, this past spring was the least amount of ballast I've ever had to replace on the layout. So I used less than 1 5-gallon pail full of limestone screenings to repair 300 feet of track that needed ballast. So I'm actually quite impressed as how well it worked.
Yeah, that seems to work pretty well. Because I have a guy who's not too far from me, and he's always getting a ton to 2 ton of dirt and stuff to replace his what sinks in. So it sounds like what you did actually worked.
Well, what's nice is the local yard that's around here. I say local; it's 25 minutes away, but I live in the middle of nowhere, so everything's 25 minutes away. you can buy 5-gallon pails of material for $1. So I paid $1 to repair my ballast this spring. You can't beat that with a stick. And phase one is, I think, oh, it's so hard. I'm terrible with time. I think it's 6 or 7 or maybe 8 years old now. Obviously, the first spring after it was built, I used a little more ballast than I had anticipated. There was still a learning curve. But then every year after that, I've used less and less. And it really, I've taken some pictures and loaded them up online where the ballast actually washes away on one corner. The ballast will actually stay underneath. Thought I had a piece of track here. So there's a piece of track. The ballast will actually hold its shape underneath the ties and hold the rail in place. And then all you got to do is fill ballast in between where the ties are. So I just use a 4-inch painter's brush and brush it out of the way, sprinkle it with some water, and you're good to go. I honestly never anticipated it was going to be that user friendly, but I'm extremely happy with it. And I try to tell people all the time, hey, try to use limestone. Use limestone screenings if you can get it. And it works very, very well for ballast. I think it, and Andrew's been to the layout. I think it's scale appropriate beyond that. What do you think, Andrew?
I think so. I think it looks really good. I was just looking here to see. I thought I had a picture up
I like
close.
putting Andrew on the spot every once in a while.
Yeah.
It makes things interesting.
So anybody who's like wanting to start out and building a G scale layout from day one, you would highly recommend using this limestone.
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And Andrew will probably cue him up here at some point here, but I have a lot of videos of when phase one was going in on YouTube, showing the process. I went a little overboard. Overboard for probably your normal hobbyist, but like background in being a contractor, I actually used a transit to set my track. So from one end of the layout to the other, it's 100% level. So with grade changes in the ground around you, it looks like it goes up and down, but it really doesn't. The track is level everywhere it goes.
Wow.
And it still is. Every once in a while, I'll go out there and check it, but it still is level. So I have no complaints. And as far as phase two is concerned, I'm going through the same process, albeit a little bit slower this time because I'm a little bit older. But,
that's happening to all of us, though.
Yeah.
Right. So,
how long did it take you to get phase one up and running?
Well, it's kind of funny because phase one is actually like phase three. The first time I did the layout outside, I was excited and I just laid track on the ground and kind of threw some gravel around it, threw some limestone screenings, and it worked for a season, if you will. Then I thought, boy, it would be really nice to have the track level so there's no grade changes, so the engines don't struggle anywhere. So then I raised it, and I thought, well, this is where I would really like to have the flower beds. And then learning more about it, I thought, geez, I need to get rid of these 8-foot curves. Let's go up to 10-foot curves. So I sold all the 8-foot curves, bought all 10-foot curves, rechanged that, made the layout a little bit bigger. And by the time I actually started phase one, what people like to call phase one now, from the time I started to the time I could run trains was about 4 months in my spare time, if you will. So there's about 10 ton of boulders. I believe there's 11 ton of 411. and only about 4 ton of limestone screenings. But I have a truck, so it was easy to swing by the yard to grab whatever I needed for that day. I would skate out of work early, try to get more stuff done in the evenings. And the goal was, you know, I just want to run trains. That's all I want to do is run trains.
Hey,
So Andrews, yeah. Okay.
Since you started talking
This
about your
video
face.
is, yeah, this video that he's pulled up here is the very first time I actually laid track down outside. And this is what I was talking about. It's just kind of like on the ground with limestone screenings. Boy, this is an old video. I've replaced the steps since. But yeah, this was very early phase 1.
And how big of an
Major
area?
grade changes.
How big an area was?
How big of an area?
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll call let's see. It's probably about 50 foot by maybe 35 or 40 foot. It goes under the porch. And in this video here, it shows this was before it even went around the tree. And I used to have a pond. I don't have a pond anymore. But, you know, I like daylilies.
That's a lot different.
Yeah, it's majorly different now. It goes past the chimney now. But like I said, this was, you know, we were excited to get some track down on the ground and run some trains outside. So, I mean, I guess just like anybody else's layout, is it ever really done? It's never finished.
Yeah.
No matter what we do. So right now, well, according to what I can see right now, when the train goes around this curve, it doesn't do that anymore. It actually goes straight towards the backyard.
And I think the hardest part for anybody is starting, because I know people that's taken like 2 or 3 years before they got a train running. And I'm not sure if that's because they're starting out too big or trying to do too much at one time or.
Well, okay. This is where the contractor comes in to me. My job for 25 years was planning jobs to go smooth, make sure the right material was there at the right time, make sure the right contractors were there at the right time. That's what I did as a profession. So I just approached this as another job and made sure that I had my materials there ready to go, what I needed. And I actually used a program called AnyRail, which I'm nowhere or know-how affiliated with AnyRail. And that's a program you can pay. I think it's like $60. And I built the layout. I built a blueprint first. And that's part of kind of how I am. I have to have a blueprint. I have to have a plan. A lot of people just go out there and they start laying track down and make decisions afterwards. I can't do that. I have to have a plan. I have to have a blueprint. So I collected for 25 years before I ran a train. That would kill me. I had tracks laid up and laid down in the living room so I could run trains. But I mean, I printed out the blueprint. I went outside. I laid the track where it needed to go. I pounded stakes in, got level with a transit, and then just started building. Now, I'm a teacher now, so here's teacher mode. For those of you that don't know, a transit is one of those things that you see that has 3 legs, and you look through it like you're looking through a telescope. And what that does is you can read a measuring tape from 100 feet away and read it accurately. So I could set the stakes at whatever height I needed them to be by pounding them in, and that was representative of roadbed. So having that plan in place, breaking ground in spring, was to me just another job. So my mistake with phase 2 is I have not treated it like a job. I have a temporary setup and it's stalled out because I'm able to run trains. It's more fun to run trains than do backbreaking.
Of course, yeah.
Well, yeah, this video is old. That's my youngest son. He's 14 now.
Oh, wow.
So I think I've had G-Scale for 11 years.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't know, I'm terrible with time. We should have my wife on here for these very particular numbers. I don't know how long I've been married either.
Yeah. Oh.
I was going to say, your son looks just the right height to climb underneath the porch when stuff falls off right there.
Right?
So that was one of the advantages you had to get. That's why you were able to get so much down so fast, is because you actually planned this and mapped it all
and
out.
To me, it wasn't fast. It was almost painful because I wanted to treat it like a job. I wanted to work on it, from sun up to sundown, but I had to go to work, and then come home and work on it in my spare time, which it killed me because I just wanted to treat it like a job.
Yeah. But I've known quite a few G-Scale people who's, like I said, it seriously took them like at least 1, 2, or 3 years to build a layout to where they even could run a train on it. For that matter.
Yeah, you can ask Andrew. That's probably how long phase 2 is going to take.
Yeah,
I swear, I think I'm working harder on phase 2 for the people that want to come and run on it than myself.
Those bricks are still in use. They're just in phase 2 now.
Right. Well, I went through going through the same process. I wanted to check grade. I wanted to check to make sure it was actually feasible to do this. It kind of gives you a visual as to how much dirt you really need to bring in, which was 30 yards.
Wow.
So, but again, it's being a contractor. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I was able to call a friend and say, hey, take your dump truck up and get me 30 yards of dirt. I'll give you a 6-pack of beer when you get here.
I'll drop that one down for now.
Yeah.
So,
so how are you able to figure out yards of dirt you needed just by the amount of area you had?
Well, it's a formula in the trades. You measure area, length times width times height, and you can anybody can do this. You can go to Google and type in how to figure yards of dirt, and you can punch your numbers in, and it'll tell you how many yards of dirt you need. I live in the country, so I just guesstimated and said, give me 30 yards. And I may have had a yard or two over, but again, 25 years experience, it kind of helps. So there you go. This is a good video. You can see the stakes that are actually pounded right through the ties.
Yeah.
To set. So the top of those stakes is level from one stake to the next and set with a transit.
Okay.
Boy, my shadow looked skinny in that. Go back to that. I liked that. So, and I had a friend who had a pile of boulders, and she said, come and take as much as you want. So every day I would stop and fill my truck up with boulders. And, what's nice about it is I could lay the boulders down and pick out what rocks I wanted to go where. I could see everybody. I would grab this guy, put him here, grab this one, put him here. And again, that's experience of having the materials that you need on site, ready to go, and not scratching your head going, oh, geez, I guess I better order another ton of boulders.
Yeah.
And
is that stone?
And there's the hand. I'm sorry?
Was that this white or going around the tree there? Is that stone?
It looks very white in the video, and it does when you first lay it down. That's the limestone screenings that you see.
Oh, okay.
It's actually covering up the 411. The 411 is roadbed, but once the limestone screenings get wet, and get rained down a few times, it turns to a nice gray.
Oh, all right.
So it just looks super bright white, and
Yeah,
the
it
video
does.
quality, I'm sure, is not the greatest. That spot there by the chimney is actually the highest spot on the layout, and that's where I started with the transit to make everything else level. The ground actually drops when you go more towards the front yard. The ground drops about 20 inches, which is why I put a bridge in, because I was sick of hauling dirt.
That's a good reason to put a bridge in.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, back when I could hump a wheel, you know, run a wheelbarrow all day and not have an issue, you know, I can't do that so much anymore. But
Yeah, there's a lot of physical work to doing something like this, that's for sure.
there is. And it can be backbreaking, but it's a labor of love.
Now, what did you do as far as drainage on a as you went high on a like this area right here? Obviously, you had to raise it up with the stones and stuff on the sides.
That's the nice thing about limestone 411. The water washes right through it. So not only does it wash right through it, it actually it'll push the smaller pieces of gravel into the bigger pieces of gravel, and it'll lock in place, but it still allows water to drain through. You can see the rock right there. That's 411.
All right.
That's roadbed. So, I mean, and ballast replacing is kind of like what they do on the real railroad. It's maintenance. You have to maintain the ballast.
Yep.
And you know, like I said earlier, if you're not going to attach, the track just lays there. It's not attached to the stakes or anything like that. So if you're going to do a system like this, then you have to be prepared to do maintenance, which to me, doing maintenance on the railroad is kind of therapeutic. You know, I will run a train while I'm doing maintenance. You just have to make sure your ballast is screeded out of the way before the train comes by. So do small sections.
Where the one hasn't stalled out just going under the porch and your rear end.
Yeah, that happened to somebody here.
Yeah.
Blamed it on a faulty plug or something like that.
Yeah, that was another guy's fault. It wasn't my fault at all.
Wow.
Right. Didn't he do the plugs?
What's that?
So let's blame it on Cody. Didn't he install those?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always Cody's fault.
All right.
Right. Well, he's not here. He's not here to defend himself.
Exactly. That's the best time. Oh, is this when you were starting to build your bridge? Or trestle?
Yeah, this was the beginning of the bridge. So I don't know if we can pause the video or not, but
yeah, we can pause it.
it's kind of like a perfect right there.
Yeah, let's talk about your bridge a little bit.
I was fortunate enough to be on a job where I was working on their deck, and underneath their deck, they had material under 3 or 4 inches of mud that I actually tripped over this piece. That the big piece on the bottom underneath the 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch cedar is actually called Ipe. And I don't know if there's anybody out there who knows lumber or anything like that, but Ipe, spelled IPE, is the world's hardest wood. It's a Brazilian hardwood, and it's very, very expensive, and it's impervious to weather. So that's actually a 10-foot 2x8 Ipe. So that's actually the backbone of the bridge. It spans 10 feet without deflection, which is really, really nice. Then I took cedar and ripped it 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch and started to build on top of the Ipe. And the idea of that was it gives a place for water to go, so the track is just not sitting in water or ice in the winter, if you will. So it's actually an inch up off of that board. And I just spaced it out and laid it out and pinned it to the epay. So this is eventually a trestle bridge, but these are the beginnings of it. And the track, I actually used a pin gun, and I nailed the track to the 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch cedar. So you have rails running the same way. I'm sorry, you have 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch pieces of cedar that are running the same way as the ties. And then on top of that is a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch piece of cedar that runs the opposite direction right underneath the ties. So the track is supported, but there's a lot of ventilation and a lot of drainage, if you will. And that was the intent behind it. And in the trades, all we ever talk about is water is the enemy. So you got to get the water away. So
all right. Now
I'm still shamelessly plugging.
Speaking of bridges, and you said you were a class instructor. You actually brought a bridge or built a bridge in one of your classrooms. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've actually been teaching construction tech for 2.5 years now. I ended my career in contracting, if you will, officially, and then started teaching. So I teach at the local high school, and I teach shop class. It's kind of like a glorified shop class where we teach every aspect of construction you can possibly imagine, from excavating all the way up to the shingles on your roof and everything in between. So as a lesson on bending wood, I decided to build an arched bridge for the layout. I don't know, Andrew, do you still have those pictures of the arched bridge that I sent you?
Yeah,
or were
I'm
you
actually
too busy doing it?
I'm bringing it up right now. I had to crop it because
So,
you had like a lot of extra. Let's see, extra borders on it. And let's see if I got to stop.
So basically, I can turn anything into a lesson. And what I thought I would do is not only try to get some kids interested in G scale, but kind of teach them how to work with wood a little bit and how to bend it to create something that looks really cool. So I have a train that I have on display in my classroom, and it's actually it gets brought up a lot by the kids. But oh yeah, there it is. So we built this bridge as a class. It's 78 inches long and it's about 26 inches tall, I think. And it's all, what's unique about it is the only fasteners that were used were nuts and bolts. So that whole thing is nuts and bolts put together. There's no nails, there's no glue. If a piece rots or breaks, we can unscrew nuts and bolts and replace it.
Wow.
So what was fun about this was I couldn't believe how many kids were actually like, oh man, I love trains. And I was like, really? That's still a thing? So it was a lot of fun to make the two pieces that were curved. We actually made, I think we soaked 8 pieces of wood to curve, and the first piece bent perfectly on the jig, and we broke 6 pieces after that, and we got to the last piece and curved it, and it stuck. So it was a great lesson on, be prepared. If you need 2 pieces, make 10, because you never know what's going to happen. It can always dry out and be used for something later, so it's not like it's wasted. And this whole bridge and all of its pieces parts are 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch pieces of cedar. The only parts that are thinner are they're 3/8 of an inch thick and by 3/4 by 2 inches long. And then the parts that run the length of the train holding everything together on the bottom are 3/8 of an inch thick by 3/4 of an inch thick with the nuts and bolts going through. So it's pretty hefty. I have never tested it for weight, but it has not bowed yet. And you're actually using the curved wood as a structural thing. I mean, it's not a fake bridge like the other one with the piece of epay on it as its backbone. This is actually fully functional arched bridge.
And as far as bending the wood, I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, you said you soaked it. I mean, I'm assuming you're soaking cedar and water before you do this?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I have a 10-foot stick of 4-inch PVC with a cap on the one end of it, and it's standing up in the shop. And what we did was we put the wood in the PVC pipe and clamped it on the other ends, because as you add water, the wood wants to float and actually come right out of the top of the pipe. So we clamped the wood to the end and filled it and let it soak for 2 weeks before we started bending. And
Wow.
that's the old school way of bending wood. You can actually steam wood and get it to bend. But cedar is very forgiving as far as bending, and it's very good to use outside because it holds up to the weather.
Okay.
And that bridge now sits on the layout. I think it's been it's been a year and a half, untreated.
So no stain, no treated or anything, huh?
No, sir. Actually, my brother Brian worked for Sherwin-Williams for 25 years, and we had a very lengthy conversation as to what to treat it with. And at the end of the conversation, it was kind of decided just to let it naturally gray. And if any of the nuts and bolts rusted and failed, just replace them. And what's really nice now is because the nuts and bolts are just zinc, they're not stainless steel or anything exciting or expensive. There's rust stains that are coming down the side of the upright stanchions, and it looked, for lack of a better, it looks so really happy with how it looks now.
I was looking through the videos you sent me, Jonathan, to see. Oh, yeah, I think I just found it. Yeah, I just found the video.
There's a very short one.
Yeah, it's
First time running the Tweetsy.
Yeah, let's see. Stop that.
Yeah, it's a very nice bridge. Very cool project too.
There we go.
Yeah, the kids loved it. Oh yeah, here you go. And you can see the trestle bridge in the background of the natural color. That's what the arch bridge looks like now.
Was the guy running the excavator named Jens by chance?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
That's a change your shorts moment.
Yeah, I've always thought that bridge looks beautiful on your layout.
You know, the only mistake that I made, I should have made it about a 1/2 inch wider, because my giant cell phone, if I put it on a car, doesn't fit going through the bridge.
Oh.
Yeah, I found out I was going to try that myself when I ran a trainer the last time, and I had to yank the phone off of there at the last second.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure a GoPro fit on there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have plenty of ride-on videos, if you will, on YouTube.
Now, is this the only bridge you have on your layout?
It's these two, the trestle bridge and this arched bridge.
Okay. And by the way, what's the name of your
Phase
layout?
2 is so. Actually, the name of the layout is Cabedoma, Cabedoma, and that is the first 2 letters of each of my kids' names. So Cassidy, Bella, Dominic, Max.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the
And there's the other bridge.
There's the
I was
trestle.
talking about. Trestle bridge, yeah. That came out really
And
nice.
that's a few years in. That's probably 4 or 5 years in. I honestly don't know. But it almost looks, to me, it almost looks real.
Yeah. Did you nut and bolt this together
That
too?
kid walking down the sidewalk. I didn't hear you.
Is this bridge nut and bolted as well?
looks like
No,
pignail.
everything's put together with pin gun or narrow crown staples. And to be honest with you, the intent of this bridge is to let it rot and fall apart, because I think that'll look cool. Because the epay, that's the backbone, won't let it sag, but the rest of it will look awesome, like a dilapidated bridge.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I never realized what you actually had for the support underneath of it. I mean, I know when I've been over and I've looked at it, I've noticed that the feet in a lot of places aren't actually touching the ground, but I didn't realize I actually had a strong piece of lumber in there.
The trestle bents don't touch the ground at all.
Oh, this must be your maintenance delay train.
Yeah, this is the beginning of phase 2.
This is a working railroad.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I think I saw somebody else do it. They had all their tools loaded in gondolas, so why not? I have all the tools, all the fasteners, all the little screws to hold the track together, and they're right there. And you can, I mean, the fact that I'm using an engine, why not?
Yeah.
If you can't have fun doing it, don't do it.
That's true. Now, are you using the original type rail joiners, or are you using like a split jaw type of deal?
Yes. How's that? Because I run battery power now, I don't really have a huge concern as to how my rails are held together. So, hey, look at that. I just answered Bruce's question. I use battery power now. I have 100% bent rails. I actually pulled the wires out. Some tracks are held together with your standard rail joiners where you put the tiny little screws in, and some tracks are held together with rail clamps, all different brands. I honestly, to be completely honest with you, I don't care how they're held together as long as they're held together.
Yeah, I just find it cumbersome to try and put the little tiny screws in the little tiny holes on the rail joiners.
Yeah, losing those in the ballast is a no-win situation. The more you dig, the further they go into the ballast.
Well, you know how you prevent that? You take yourself a paper plate outside and you put it underneath where you're joining. So if you drop the screw, it lands on the plate.
There you have it.
And it doesn't fall into your ballast. So if anybody gets anything out of, there's the advice to give you. Take a piece of plate and put it underneath where you're trying to join your rails. And if you drop the screw, everybody does, then at least it's on the plate and not in your ballast, lost forever.
So looks like Ravenhawk's got a good question, Jonathan. He said, what's the benefit to running battery power compared to track power?
Well, one benefit is I don't clean my track. I actually go around with an old broom, and if there's sticks or something, oh, this is painful to watch. Oh. But if there's sticks or something like that on the track, I get it off with the broom, and then I run a train and I'm good. No scrubbing.
I know you know him, so I had to pick that up.
Right.
We'll get back to Ravenhawk's question.
That's one huge benefit is I don't have to clean the tracks anymore. And it's funny because if you look here, where is it over here? I made really some track cleaning car use anymore. But that, I like the freedom of it. I can run numerous trains. They don't need to be running in direction if I have two main lines like I do now. I found actually I have different ways to turn a train around on the layout now, and I don't have to worry about how to figure out how to wire that. I don't have to worry about how to I don't bridge drop, because see here, this little guy here, this little of an engine, I got it at a steel because the guy said it ran terribly. Well, I wired it to be able to run with battery. I just put an MU cable sticking out the back, and it runs flawlessly now. So when it has constant power, constant, consistent power, I think the trains actually run better. I mean,
Okay.
other than that, I can't really ask for much more of a benefit than that. Situation.
And typically, how long would you get on a single charge on a single engine? And how long do you think you could run for an average train outside?
Well, that's an interesting question because it depends on the engine and it depends on the battery you're using. So what I have here is this is a battery screw gun. Okay, it's just it's an 18-volt battery designed to last however you're putting screws in or drilling. And this battery, for example, running an aristo-craft RS3 at escape miles an hour, lasts almost 4 hours.
Man,
You will run out of
grass, John.
I didn't hear you, Andrew.
There you go.
I said you're answering these questions before they pop up. Someone asked how much runtime do you get out of a battery, and you already answered it.
That's this battery with an engine for driving wheels. You know, 55 miles for almost 4 hours. I actually sat out there and timed it. I had numerous cigars and numerous we'll call them barley and hops related drinks. And if I just plug this into the back of an engine, like if I'm running one engine and I don't lash them up, I can get almost 4 hours. So basically, I will run out of steam before the engine does. And the fact that I use screw gun batteries in most of the engines, I have 6 of them. So it doesn't matter how fast, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I don't know, Andrew, if you want to make the screen bigger. This guy behind me. Here. That is an MrPictovid. That has an 18-volt battery in it. It's in the tender. So, and it's got its own charging port up in through the display case here. But this engine pulling, let's say, here 40 cars this size will run about an hour and a half, full sound up. And anybody that runs battery knows that the smoke generators, they suck the power like instantly. So if I shut the smoke off, I can probably run 2 hours. I never run that without smoke because why would I? So that's the two extremes. This little guy here, he'd probably run for 6 hours on batteries. So and I don't know if you can see here. This is one of my battery cars, but and I can't pull it out because right now there's a line running through it. But inside of it is a way to plug in one of my screw gun batteries. And works really well. So, I mean, I don't know if it answers the question or not because it's kind of it's a variable thing. It depends on what size motors you're running, depends on how big your consist is. It depends. There's too many variables.
Yeah.
Consist here with this 40, I think there's maybe 20 or 25 cars. I could probably run that for 2 hours. Okay. This is the Benny Hill video. This is putting all the cars away in the train shed. This was I think a 15 or 20-minute cleanup that I fast forwarded to only 5 minutes or something like that, just to give an idea of what it takes to clean up. But
cool.
you can actually see there on the bridge one of the ports going from bent to bent is missing. I think that was a lawn mowing accident, to be honest with you.
Now, with your G scale layout, what inspires you to buy certain road names, or do you stick with a certain road name, or do you just buy anything that appeals to you, or how do you work that?
So when I first started out, I would just buy whatever I thought cool or whatever I can get a deal on. And I think like another hobby, how it evolves. And what it has evolved into now is I grew up with the B&O and chassis system going through my backyard. Literally 100 feet from my backyard was a main line for B&O and chassis. So at this point now, for rolling stock, I look for chassis stuff. And as a kid, I had your standard Santa Fe War Bonnet F3 or F7, if you will. So I have a couple of those, and I think I have 7 Santa Fe engines and I have 6 chassis engines. And with the phase 2 going in, there's 2 rail yards that are in it. One is on the east side and one is on the west side. So that kind of works perfect. I can run the chassis and anything that Boston and Maine, anything that's on the east can run and have in the east yard, and anything that's on the west coast I can have with the Santa Fe, and it can be parked there. CP rail. I actually only have one CP rail engine. It's an SD40-2 that I custom painted. And I mean, I guess I look for east and west, and whatever.
This is
so I don't really have a theme.
Okay, so you don't have an actual.
I don't have a themed layout or anything like that.
Okay. So with that being said, I guess you know you run whatever you feel as though is fun. You're not really a prototypical kind of person. You just want to have fun out in your backyard.
Yeah, basically, you know, I'm not a rivet counter. I don't run prototypical. I will run any gauge. I'll run narrow gauge with 129 scale cars. It doesn't bother me at all. I run what I like, and I guess my attitude is if you don't like it, then don't watch the videos or don't come over and run your trains. I mean, I'm still going to have fun, and it's all about me.
I mean, that's the number one thing that anybody ever says in the G Skill hobby is, you know, do it how you want to do it. It's your layout, you know.
Right, and to be completely honest with you, and like I mean, I said it earlier, if you can't have fun doing it, then don't do it. If fun for you is making sure that everything is perfectly to scale and looks prototypical, then by all means do it. Have at it. If that's what you like, then do it. But you can't be offended by me running this hopper, which is, I think, 124th, with that 129th Aristo boxcar, because I'll do it all day long. And what I like is when you see a real train, you know, on the rails, you can see if it's got all these different boxcars on it. Some are this tall, some are this short. it almost looks like they mixed 124th and 129th together. So who cares? Run it. I think it looks more realistic. That's just my opinion. Do with it what you will, as long as you're having fun. And isn't that the goal?
I didn't realize how much of a muddy mess that was when you first started figuring that out in the back.
Yeah, it was terrible. This was this past March. We kind of had an early spring, so I got out there as quick as I could to start putting track out to try to work out the kinks. And this is the first time I've ever done anything with grade changes. So I was trying to figure out the grade changes and make sure that I wasn't over 2% anywhere, because I don't want the engines to struggle. I don't mind getting dirty. I make dirt look good.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, windy day there.
Oh, that didn't look.
I'll be honest with you. I'm glad I didn't have any tools or fasteners in those gondolas at that point. I'd have been really mad.
Oh, I bet.
Way on there.
Yeah, so here you go. This is the solve. I wanted to run a train so bad I put a half a brick on every car.
Hey, it's all about thinking outside the box.
Life goals, you know.
Are you running all metal wheels on these trains?
Yes. Yes. I don't have a single piece of rolling stock that I haven't touched yet. And everything gets metal wheels and everything gets KDs.
So you do run KDs, body mounted KDs?
Body mounted KDs. I don't run 906s. I run the 800 series. I don't remember what they are. And that's probably because I'm a novice as far as KDs are concerned. There's a lot of people that like the 906s. They stretch and they give a little bit. They like to hear that snap when the engine starts up or takes off or stops. But really, all I want is to be able to pick up whatever piece of rolling stock and hook it up to whatever piece of rolling stock I want, and not have to find a transition car or say, oh, I can't hook this one up to this one because this one's got this kind of couplers and this one's got. I wanted them standardized. So if it comes here, it gets KDs and metal wheels. It's just, those are the rules.
Okay.
Now, if you want to come here and run whatever you want to run here, that's fine. I don't care. But if you're going to use my cars, just know that they have KDs on them.
All right.
And if Jeffrey was watching right now, he would use his sloppy Bachmann couplers that do this all over the place. And then he wrecks all the time. And then we wait for him to clean up his mess on the main line.
Let me run some more.
John Dewitt's got a question. He says, you're running 4 locomotives running on the main line. A great video. What's the length of your main line?
Okay, so the mainline track, it's actually right around 750 linear feet of mainline track, which means I'm not counting any sidings. I'm not counting any rail yards. I'm actually not even counting switches. So it's right around 750 feet. So running on an average of 50 to 55 scale miles an hour, it takes about 8 minutes for one lap. So if I want to run more on the train, to be honest, I'm so ridiculous, I'll actually set a timer. And I'll wait 2 minutes and up the next train. This way, if there's a derailment, if it happens, I've got time. Unless Andrew comes over and we're sitting back by and we haven't seen a train yet, we realize that Andrew's train crashed under the porch, and then but we'll blame Andrew for that.
Yeah. Well, it must be one of his trains that crashed. Right, Andrew? Your Penn Central train crashed?
Yeah, I got to buy some Penn Central, so I got more excuses to crash, right? No, I liked when you did this overview shot when you were first starting to work on the back there, Jonathan. Oh, actually, I want to kind of pause that before it runs away from us here.
You'll have to
right now, right? Sorry, go ahead, Jonathan. What's that?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm back. I lost picture because I didn't touch the mouse enough. Oh yeah, that's the best I can do for an aerial view. Go upstairs on the back porch and shoot a video. It really gives you an idea of what phase 2 looks like. Those 2 loops that you see there, that's actually where you can turn a train around. So if you want the train running in a different direction, which is another advantage of battery power, I can turn a train around, flip a switch, and I'm done.
Oh.
And which is kind of something that I've always wanted. I've always wanted like a double map, so I can run 2 trains next to each other, or I can run this as one long main line. So there's options on the layout, which is really nice.
Now, can you do switching on this layout and run a main line at the same time, or no?
Absolutely. There's a little group of us that get together and run trains together, and we have a problem with Jeffrey always taking up the main line when he's switching. So we have Moreland Yard where Jeffrey can come and he can switch all day long, and we can still run trains right past it without any issues. There's a whole extra track to build your train without taking up mainline real estate, basically. So that's on the west side. So that would be the Santa Fe yard, if you will.
Okay. Well, that's cool that you were able to incorporate it in such a way, because I know there's guys, when they come to a club layout, whatever, there's guys that like to switch, and there's guys that just like to, run in circles, and there's guys that like to make point-to-point deliveries. So there's all kinds of interests and things you can do. John Dewey wants to know if you want 14 or 18 volt
on your battery side, Jonathan.
I actually run both, but the big boy I have an 18 volt in, and the screw gun batteries are 18 volt, and it's 14 volt, but they do just fine on 18. Actually, I think they do better on 18 than 14. Airwire says they can handle 22 volt, so I run at 18 volt. And I think I have 2 engines that have 14 volt in them, and I'm probably going to change them over to 18 volt because I honestly think they run better with 18 volt. And that little 44 tonner that's in the video has remote couplers on it, and the remote couplers work a little bit better with 18 volt than 14 volt. Not much. I'm just being completely honest with you. I took the time to take the 14 volt out and put an 18 volt, and I was sorely disappointed that there wasn't much of an improvement with how the couplers work. But it's like anything. There's a learning curve. So.
And what brand name of remote couplers do you have?
Believe it or not, MTH.
Really?
MTH remote couplers. I think you can get them for like $16 a pair. Which I think Phoenix remote couplers are like $48 a piece or something ridiculous like that, and KDs are also rather expensive. And from what I have learned running this big boy with an MTH remote coupler on the back, it will actually function with a load on it. So if I'm going up a 2% grade and I'm pulling 13 heavyweights, I can still uncouple it without an issue. You can't do that with a Phoenix, and you can't do it with a KD. There's people out there who use a They use a little servo and a piece of chain, and they turn a regular KD into a remote KD. That's awesome, but I'm not that smart. I can't figure that out. So when I found out it was 16 bucks a pair for the MTH couplers, I think I bought 10 pairs, and they're in a box, and someday I'll use them. Maybe. I don't know.
Thinking of modifying stuff, Jonathan. Let's see, where to go.
So what's the brand name of screw batteries that you use?
There's Bosch.
Bosch? Okay. Yeah, I was kind of curious.
Yeah.
Now here you did, here you did a modification on a Bachmann coal hopper. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's a 3-bay Bachmann coal hopper. I try to look for them around the $20 range, and I repaint them all to C&O or the chassis system. And I don't know if anybody has watched his videos on YouTube, but Jens Peter Bang, showed me one day that he took his Bachmann hoppers and actually stretched the wheelbase. And you can see right there on the screen how much better it makes it look. And it's not a very difficult modification. This would be, I would say, entry-level modification. If you're new to G-Scale and you're not so comfortable yet tearing into things or taking cars apart, this would be, I think, a good entry-level, something that you can do to improve the look of your rolling stock, especially these Bachmann cars. I mean, the Bachmann cars are cheap as compared to other manufacturers, but stretching that wheelbase is just, it's incredibly simple, and the end result is just amazing. So here I'm showing a comparison.
Let's see, I'll pause it right there.
So actually, I have a car here that I took the trucks off of, and I took that piece of aluminum that you see off just to show you what I did. This bottom section on the car, the frame, if you will, is all one piece, and it comes out with just a handful of screws, and you can take this whole frame off where the truck mounts, and this bar stretches the way across. And all I did was cut it in half right in the middle and stretch it out about an inch. And the hardest, I think the most difficult part about it is these little support structures here, or made to look like support structures. You have to kind of eyeball those and cut them by hand so they end on the bulkhead of the car itself. And I just super glued those into place, and I reused all the screws. So all you have to do is unscrew that bottom frame, cut it in half, and stretch it apart. You can set the truck back on to make sure the wheels of the truck will line up with the end of the car. So that I've taken apart just to show you. And this guy back here, just to reinforce it, we put a little piece of aluminum there, and got a screw in here, a screw in here, and one back in the middle. I don't know how necessary it is, but that's pretty much it. Unscrew the frame, cut it in half, stretch it out, and your end result is tenfold better than stock. And you can actually see there, that's the original paint of the car. This was a P body. Sorry, Cody, I painted over a P body. And you can see how far I stretched it, about a half inch. So It's a very easy modification. And I think the only other thing I did to these cars is the coal load.
Oh,
This is kind of an interesting. This is another interesting, easy thing you can do. All I saw growing up, going through my backyard, were coal trains. And what I have done here is I've taken the coal load and I spray painted it flat black. And while the paint was wet, I used charcoal, aquarium charcoal, and sprinkled on it so it would stick to the wet paint. And when it dried, it gives you a little more texture. It gives you a little more, in my opinion, a little more realism. So, I mean, other than the obvious modification of decals, and that's what I've done to try to improve the look of these cars. And yeah, I think look 10 times better than stock.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely.
And it's
you can definitely see the improvement there just by stretching it. It does look a lot more realistic for sure.
Yeah, I had some boxes a few years ago, and at the time, it never really dawned upon me what it was I didn't like about them when I got rid of them. But after I saw Jens and Jonathan stretch out theirs like they did, I said, wow, that's what I didn't like about them. Those look a million times better.
Yeah, so believe it or not, I think they run. I've experienced less I mean, they're cheap. Their wheels are cheap, and I'm cheap. That better weight distribution is one of the biggest. Taking it apart. Yeah, we do run. Really saw call and we a bit, and he modified all of his. I don't know. I think he's got 8,000 or 9,000 Peabody cars that he likes to run. He took all kinds of time to modify his cars, just because I think after you see it, it's hard to look at your car and not want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what it was for me. After seeing it, can't even look at these cars the same way anymore. So I think I only have 30 cars. I said 30, 38,000, whatever. 220, 221, whatever it takes. But after I did one or two, it really only took me about 10 to modify a car. So, and that's start to finish.
Now, who does the decals? Who's doing the decals for you?
Stan Cedarleaf.
Okay. Yeah,
I sent him a picture of a Sienna car, and you know, I'd like to do this to some Bachmann cars. And the funny thing is about that, I think I was telling Andrew this day, or no, Sean Fields about this the other day. Stan does really, and he hooks you up with decals. And I never even thought about it, but the numbers that you see under C&O, he sent all different numbers to set up different cars. So every car that I have has a different number. That 1D229 that you see on there, every car that I have has a different number. And I didn't know that he did that until I was about halfway done putting decal on. And I noticed it. And I ended up having to reactivate the glue to take decals off of the side of some car, put them on cars. It was really funny. But see, I never really thought about that. I never really thought that each car is going to have a different number. It makes sense. But I think it was only, honestly, I think it was only 3 or 4 cars that I had to do that to. But it was almost painful having to take the decals off because they're water slides, like the old style when you did a model car when you were a kid and you cut the water slide off. And I didn't really do that great of a job as far as trimming the white or the clear plastic around the decals because I fully intend on weathering all these cars at some point. So there'll be some sanding, there'll be some spray paint here and there, some whatever.
I just wanted to point out to people that are watching any of these videos that they're seeing that we're playing here, if they follow the link in the description to your YouTube channel, they can find any of these videos. These are all from Jonathan's YouTube channel.
So speaking of which, my YouTube channel, this is kind of funny.
I'm laughing.
My videos are not like professionally shot like Andrew's or Sean's. My videos are, to be completely honest with you, use YouTube as free storage for my videos. So I'll do a video and then delete it off my phone or my iPad, just to save room, save memory, and kind of preserves the evolution of my G-scale hobby, to be honest with you. I can go back and look and see how things were and mistakes I've made, and Andrew will tell you I am one of the best editors in video that you could ever meet. Yeah, I post videos on YouTube for me. I don't really post them for the audience, and when people started getting interested in my videos, that's when I started to put "thanks for watching" at the end.
Oh, for the switches,
so
because you went past them.
And what is the name of your YouTube channel?
I think it's Jonathan TheeFishguy.
Okay. Now, speaking of fish, so you're also big into from looking behind you, you're also big into the hobby of fish as well.
Yeah.
So you were able to incorporate trains and the hobby of fish by creating an aquarium car. Would you like to talk about that?
Sure. I ran across this custom-made aquarium. One of my friends in the aquarium hobby had this custom-made aquarium. It's 30 inches long, and let me see if I can get my fat head out of the way here. And I would have to say, honestly, I don't know. I think it's 5 or 6 inches tall and 3.5 inches wide. It holds 2.5 gallons, and it's fully functional. There are, I think those are passenger, and all it's under here is of wood that in the frame of the aquarium, and the trucks are screwed into it, and it's got a support car that goes behind it. You can put a battery powered pump into it, and I can actually run this with fish swimming around in it. I don't know if I can get rid of the glare. Let's see if I can do this here. There's fish in the aquarium car right now. And of course, it's sitting in front of the 140-pound aquarium. But yeah, it's fully functional. Holds water, which is the most important thing that any fish tank can have. But I kind of did it for fun because a lot of people ask me, have you ever combined your hobbies? People want me to run a clear tube through a fish tank so I can run a train through the fish tank. I'm not doing that. Sorry.
I think I
this is about the best I can do. And just to prove to you that it does roll. Take the engine off here.
All
Little
right.
nugget.
Oh yeah.
And it does move back. It does move back and forth. I don't know. There is a video on YouTube of this car getting pulled around phase one. But
was it YouTube or was it on Facebook? You tagged me on that, Jonathan.
it's I tagged you on Facebook, but oh boy, I can't remember if I put it on YouTube or not. I don't think I did.
No, I don't think you did. Because I was scrolling through your videos there to see. And someone
I remember what
someone had asked earlier about your fish tank behind you, and I'd made a comment to him that that's not even the big fish tank.
No. The tank behind me is a 240-gallon aquarium. It's 8 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. It's essentially for the older people that are watching. It is essentially a telephone booth laying on its side. So 8 foot left to right, 2 foot front to back, and 2 foot top to bottom.
And somebody was curious as to what kind of fish you had in that tank earlier.
Well, in the aquarium car, those are rosy reds. I do have I have a small predator in the fish room that I'm trying to train off eating live, and actually very well. He doesn't eat live food anymore. But in the big tank behind it, I keep cichlids. So cichlids are a family of freshwater fish that it's actually the largest family of fish, freshwater fish there is, with I think it's over 3,000 categorized or cataloged species now, and it's constantly growing. New species are being discovered. So I keep Central and South American cichlids, and I've been breeding them since I was 11 years old. So that's quick math here. That's 35 years I've been keeping and breeding cichlids. So in the Ohio Cichlid Association, I am a master breeder. I have 1,000 points, which means I think I've spawned, I think it's about 70 different species. So, and I mean, yes, this is a big tank, but it's not my big tank. The big tank is.
Yeah, could you show everybody your big tank?
Sure, I'll spin the.
I think there'll be some interest in that because I know there are other people who have trains and fish as well.
Sure. Well, they're the two most insane hobbies that you could possibly have. Let me see here. This is the 1,200-gallon aquarium. Let's see if I can get the whole thing in shot there. It's about the best I can do. It's 14 foot left to right, 6 foot front to back on the left side, and 3 foot front to back on the right side. And it's almost difficult to realize actually how big the fish are that are in this tank. Here, I'll get in the shot really quick. But this guy here is about 11 inches. This one's 13 inches. So in a tank this size, they actually look kind of small until you actually get right on top of them. See how big they are. They think they're getting fed. This is where we, nope, wrong one. This is where we feed the fish through this little secret hatch. He's waiting. But yeah, it's an interesting hobby to say the least. And the only difference between this hobby and the train hobby is the train hobbies you can put on the back burner if you're low on funds, or if you just need to take a break from it. As far as the aquarium hobby is concerned, it's game on all the time. So you're always needing to feed the fish. You need to do water changes. You know, you need to keep an eye on them, make sure people make sure fish aren't killing other fish. But I think the G-scale hobby has actually helped me to relieve the stress of this hobby, because this hobby can be very stressful, especially on the scale that I do it. I've always been one of those go big or go home type of people. So not everybody's got a 1,200 gallon aquarium in their basement, no less 20 other fish tanks. So taking a break from the fish hobby to tinker with the G scale or modified cars or anything like that, it's a stress reliever. And if I get frustrated tearing an engine down and I can't figure out the wiring, I'll spend an hour in the fish room doing water changes, and that'll relieve the stress from that. So they kind of feed off each other. And if I sell fry, I might buy another engine. If I sell an engine, I might buy another fish tank. You know, you never know. So they kind of work together.
Okay.
But so yeah, I mean, it seemed natural at some point to combine the hobbies. I mean, why not? You know?
Sure.
So my wife's down here, so she doesn't get on.
That's pretty cool. Now, I noticed while you were over there at the fish tanks, you had an overhead G-scale layout attached to the ceiling of your basement, and the ceiling of your basement. And I know there's people out there who would probably love to do the same thing or had an idea about doing something like that. Can you tell us how you did that and what advice you give somebody for doing something like this?
Well, good. Look at the video, Andrew.
Yeah.
So I'll leave this tilted out here so you can look at it while I'm talking about it. But so what we did was I have a soffit that goes through the basement that has the main trunk line heating system. And all we did was take all the dimensions of the area where I wanted this little track, which isn't very much. It's a very small layout. I believe it's got. I laid out where the lights were going to be, which I have these disconnected now so we don't blind everybody. And we laid it out on the shop floor with blue painter's tape. And we just started laying bit for work. And all, believe it or not, track bed is plywood. And frames are right. The frames are 3/4 and made actually squares. Support. It jumps a big space, and that's where most everyone walks. Short ceiling in the basement, so and I really don't want to hit my head on it. But other than that, so built the entire thing, fastened it together in the shop on the shop floor, assembled it, brought it here, and with some just to where the were and off it is, we just started called Molly hang into the ceiling. So I think only pictures that are in this, I think only 2 of them actually hit a. The rest of them are just, it's just hanging by drywall with a spring action molly. Those anywhere. Easy. And I mean, the guy to put the mollies in, but it really wasn't that. I think it probably only took about an hour. But again, it's any other project. The more you plan, the bigger your project's going to go. And to anybody that's in G scale, plan it out, and then look at your plans and try to get as many details as possible in your plan before you do anything, even whether it's outside. It just goes that much more when you need to start doing the actual project. So, the curves were designed to match the track. It's what tape down in the shop. I just started laying track with me. I started laying it out, see what would fit, what would work, and after that, I would underneath the track and traced it out and started cutting it out. So, and then, like I said, we together made sure that a boxcar could fit through the square, and that was it. And from the time that I put this in till now, now it's turned into a storage track for all the engines. All the engines are up there.
Kind of bumper to bumper up there, it seems.
Outside.
Yeah,
it is bumper to bumper. And there's a whole, let's see here. I am on a laptop. Why not? We'll get up. It'll be fun. Ready? Everybody go for a ride. And if,
you just need a track that curves its way out through the basement wall, Jonathan. You can just run them all out.
So,
oh yeah, that's nice.
And it's everywhere down here that I can actually.
There you go.
Anywhere I have. So I don't live in a mansion or anything like that, so I don't have a whole lot of room to store everything.
Well,
It's phase 3.
I thought we were going to do like an MTV Cribs thing. You were going to show us what was in the refrigerator. I'm just kidding. It was at VH1. I got my music channels mixed up.
No, this is not MTV. I'm not that cool. I'm just a train nerd.
And speaking of which, do you have any trains in the main part of your house, or are they just outside in the basement?
Let me put it to you this way. When we bought this house, I told my wife that I wanted the basement and she could have the rest of the house to do whatever she wanted to with. So the basement is nothing but trains and fish. And I'm a collector, so I don't know if you can see or tell up there, I collect beer bottles. All different, micro brews or whatever. So the basement's mine. I paint it whatever color I want. I do what I want down here. And she does whatever she wants in the rest of the house. She's shaking her head at me right now because she knows I'm full of crap. Right. Okay, so every once in a while.
If you're not safe,
every once in a while she's over there.
Just blink twice if you're not safe. You can trust us.
Can I blink more? Yeah, I don't feel safe at home. Every once in a while, when I get a new train, I'm so excited about it. I want to see it all the time. I'll put a section of track on the mantle upstairs, and leave it there as a test to see how long I can leave it there before my wife says, "When are you going to move that train to the basement?" So the last one was the little nugget. The what are those things called? The critters? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
The aristo-craft critter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. He pulls a little maintenance train, and he hung out on the mantle for a little while. I moved him off the mantle before I got anything from my wife about it. I think he never said anything, right? She never says anything. She just thinks it and then takes it out on me later.
Oh.
She pushed me down the stairs once. She just said I'd do it again. I have PTSD from that. Go live with your trains and fish, and she just pushed me right down the stairs.
Yeah, so if Jonathan sleeps in the basement, he truly is sleeping with the fishes.
Wow.
I do. I sleep with fish. So,
do you have plans to put a pond outside since you're into fish with your trains, or no?
I actually already do have a pond outside. The initial layout was supposed to be around the pond and going over the pond. And after numerous renditions on paper and on the program, I just wasn't happy with it. So the pond stays by itself. It's its own entity. It's a what? It's a dog dish. Yeah, the dog goes out there and drinks out the pond. That's the pond's surface. Purpose.
A dog.
That and whatever koi or goldfish live in it. But so Andrew's pushing the subject here.
Oh no, I thought we were kind of getting close to that point of talking about that, so I just kind of queued it up.
Okay. Let's see here. This is what you see is on the screen is the beginning of the case that's behind me. I guess the story behind this is I wanted to figure out a way that I can have a display case for the big boy, and have a way to pick up the display case and move it out to the layout and have it drive right off the display case. So I looked at some other people's designs. I looked at my needs versus what other people's were. Some people had a very simple thing that's like a cardboard box with some string on it or whatever. I'm talking about Andrew, where they can just, take it around to different layouts. While this is an MTH big boy, and I know it doesn't weigh 80 pounds like the USA one, it's still rather cumbersome to move around. And it is heavy, especially with the modification that I've done to it or had done to it. So since it's stored in the basement, I wanted something easy that I can just grab, pick up, and go. So it's designed to fit over the top of track. Okay, so there's actually grooves cut in the bottom of the display case, the same width as G-scale track. So it can fit over the track. And then there's grooves cut in the top for the flanges on the wheels to go into. And you can kind of see that in the video here. And it's actually how my display shelves are made. So I kind of knew those dimensions already, at least for the flanges. But figuring out a way to be it in a display case that doubles as a mobile box, if you will, that took a little bit of time to figure out. So the handles that are on in this video were just temporary. I wanted to make sure that the ramp worked. I wanted to make sure that that bottom piece fit over the rails and so on and so forth. I was just at another layout this past weekend, the weekend previous to this one, and the case worked exceptionally well. And his was a raised layout, so it was very, you know, the track was nice and straight. I didn't have to deal with gravel or ballast or anything like that sticking up past the ties, because the design here on the bottom is that that board is on the ties of the track. That way there's no play, there's no, that's typically standard. So, and then I took a page from my kids' trains from when they were little and made a ramp that hooked into it. What were those trains called? Thomas, the wooden train sets, where they would actually have a ramp that you could pull up off the ground onto the track. So I just mimic that with this. And it works exceptionally well. I think the biggest challenge was getting the grooves lined up on the bottom with the grooves lined up on the top. Because if those are off, it's going to derail when it goes up or down onto the actual track. So having to take 2 trips up and down the stairs every time I wanted to run this train sounds fine and dandy for somebody in their mid-20s, but somebody in their late 40s who has had a few knee operations, I don't want to go up and down the stairs that many times. You know, I want to make it as easy as possible. So,
Yeah.
then I think after that, and you can see in the background here, I will see about moving myself out of the way. Put this down a little bit here. There's actually Velcro straps that hold the engine and tender in place. And I just recently drove 6 hours with this guy in this case in the back seat. And I think it moved, I think about 3/8 of an inch, just moved one way or the other, but it never tipped over. It didn't crash into the end. And the Velcro straps are on both sides, so it straps over the hooks to itself. And I splurged and I spent $11 on a remote control bag, LED strip light just for fun. But it stays strapped into place. And as a matter of fact, it can be, the battery is in the tender and it can be charged while it's in the display case. All I did was modify the end of the charger, and I can stick it up through here and plug it right into the engine, and it'll charge it so it's ready to go for its next adventure. Which, speaking of which, this was something that I decided on last minute. I'm having dog tags made up for everywhere the big boy goes and everywhere it runs, and the date. I don't know if you can see that on there or not. But the name of the layout that I went to this time was called the Elsie. So it was the Elsie run on 12/19 of 20 in Bluefield, West Virginia. So we're going to hang those in the display case along the back everywhere it goes. Why not? Like I said, if you can't have fun doing it, then don't do it. So
that's a pretty cool idea.
I'm very happy with how the display case works. I don't know if Andrew, you want to pull the video up from Sean's layout, showing. Yeah, here you go.
I think this is the one you're talking about, right?
So I can just talk you through that. Oh, this is the construction of it, and that's fine. We can do that. We're getting close to the 2-hour mark, so there's a better view of the Velcro straps. Now I have a strap on the pilot because I didn't want the pilot to be bouncing up and down. I can drive like an idiot sometimes, so I don't want any damage happening to this thing. It's extremely custom compared to what you would buy for a normal MTH engine. There's the box that goes over it.
Wow, that's pretty nice. So
this is actually my wood shop at school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was going to say, it didn't look like your garage. Like, I don't know if you have a garage.
Yeah. And then there's the front. Has a piece of glass in it now.
Okay. So now you can literally carry this thing to whatever layout you want to go.
Right. And what's nice about the MTH is I can run it on 8-foot curves. So as long as you have 8-foot curves on your layout, I'll be glad to come and run it.
I'll look for the video you were asking me for here.
I was going to ask you what made your decision on the MTH over the USA trains.
The fact that I have my minimum curves on my layout are 10 foot. And I did not want to be limited as to where I can run a train. So it was appealing to me that the MTH can run on 8-foot curves. Yeah, you get a lot of boiler swing, but it is what it is. I don't have any 8-foot curves left on my layout, but that was the ultimate decision right there, was not having to redo my entire layout to 16-foot curves.
Okay.
So here you can see I'm pulling dowel rods out of the bottom, and the whole top of the case just comes right off.
Wow.
And then after that, just get it centered on the track. You see it drop into place. And unstrap it and put the ramp on, and you do whatever you want. After that, pull it off, back it off, whatever works.
Jeez, that does make
so
it nice.
The fact that it's battery powered doesn't matter to me. I didn't need to build a case that could transfer power from the track to the wheels. So yet another advantage of battery power. I can run it on wood.
Yeah, that definitely makes it nice.
So I think, and I think my mistake in this was the first time I had ever taken it to another layout, the case, if you will. I shouldn't have had all my heavyweights lined up in the adjacent track. They were in the way for the Velcro straps. So I struggled a little bit trying to get the Velcro straps out of the way so I can just pull them off. The big boy's a dude, by the way. He's a guy. All the other inches are girls.
I have to say, even though
believe it or not, actually,
I was going to say, even though the MTH is 132, it looks really well with those passenger cars because I've seen videos of it.
Yeah, it does. I think that the heavyweights look just fine behind it. Now, if you look at the real engine and the smooth side cars that run behind it now, yeah, they're a lot shorter than the tender. But the tender on a big boy is just massive. It's huge. And I guess this goes back to, they're my trains. I'm not worried the fact that the heavyweights are 129th and the engine is 132nd. It doesn't bother me at all. It's so big that it's fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. It looks good.
So,
Yeah.
and somebody commented once. I was at RLD's open house in the spring, and somebody decided to make some sort of smart aleck comment about the fact that I have a 4004, and that's the wrong number.
Wow.
And here's my response to that. I had no idea that a big boy engine even existed until the first time I went to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I saw one on display in a park. And that is the first time I had ever seen a big boy engine ever in my life. That was 16 years ago. And I was just so taken aback and so thoroughly impressed with the massive size of this thing that I made a vow to myself at that point, 16, 17 years ago, that I wanted one. I didn't care what scale I had it in. I didn't care I had it in. I needed to have this engine. And I never forgot the number board on the side was 4004. So I purposely looked for a 4004. And that's why I have a 4004, an X 4004. Yeah, so to me, it's the absolute perfect number board. It's the one that I wanted. Yeah, 4014 is running on the rails now, and that's awesome. But that's not the first one I saw. So I guess it goes back to they're my trains, my layout. I run what I want. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I would do the same thing because I forget what number is actually in Steamtown. But if I was to buy a big boy, I wouldn't buy the one that's up and running now. I would want the one that I've seen at Steamtown. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
Sure, there's that little how should we say, that little emotional connection.
Yep.
When your heart drops the first time you see one.
Yeah, because that was my actual first time seeing a big boy, 8-10 years ago, was at the Scranton, Pennsylvania, at the Steamtown historical site. And,
yeah, I need to get there. I've never been there.
Oh, you'll love it. It's a pretty big park for sure. I mean, I would wait till COVID to worse.
I did. When I was scrolling through looking for the other one, I found it, so I thought I'd bring it back up so people could actually see the aquarium car does actually run.
Yes, we need to see that.
Yeah, you can't fill the aquarium car all the way up when you're running on the tracks, or the water just sloshes out.
Right.
And you're actually running a pump box car behind it, right?
Yeah, the New York Central pacemaker car has a battery power pump in it.
Now, is that acrylic or glass?
It is glass.
Glass, okay.
Actually, when I got the fish tank, it was given to me. It leaked like a sieve, so I completely took it apart and rebuilt it, and she's held water since. That was probably 8 years ago now that I got that tank.
Wow. And how often do you
sadly,
run it?
I do not have that. The aquarium car?
Yeah.
I don't know. However old this video is, that was the last time I ran it.
Oh, okay. I mean, this is just so cool.
I want to do more work to it. I really want to do more work to it. I want it to look more like a box car. I've made a lid for it that's supposed to look like the lid of a box car.
Oh, okay.
So that goes on the top. And what I need to make next, I think, are bulkheads for either end, with grab bars and ladders going up and down, and details on the bottom and stuff like that. Before I run it again, I think I really want to detail it out. The problem is ever since I switched over to battery power, all my engines are being modified at the moment. So I guess those take precedence. There's never a shortage of train projects around here, and it's usually to rolling stock or engines because my layouts are very simple. It's just track. I just like to run trains. No buildings or anything like that. I think that was the deal with my wife. If she says, fine, if you want to put trains going through the flower beds, I don't want a bunch of buildings. I said, that's fine. I don't want maintenance on the buildings anyway.
There you go.
Oh, here's
I mean,
So
I just find that the aquarium car is so cool because it's something different and it's something you don't always hardly ever see. I mean, the last time I've seen an aquarium car that had real live fish in it was at the show at the National Garden Railway Convention in Georgia in 2018. Somebody had one, and so I just thought it was like neat to see something like that.
And I know you just have the one.
sure, and I actually have. Our MTH good engines. I've never heard any complaints from anybody else. I am thoroughly impressed and thoroughly happy with this engine. I think we pulled like 66 or 67 grain hoppers with it at RLD. Yes,
Yeah,
and my wife just reminded me this was a gift from my wife.
Oh, I mean,
So we'll give her full credit.
Yeah, there you go. MTH was sort of like new to G Scale. They were like sort of late into the game. And they called it actually Gauge 1 and not G Scale. So
Yeah, and I think they were trying to change people's minds on the 132nd. From the reading that I've done, I've never done any real solid research on it. They claim to be the most accurate to scale model trains as far as 132nd goes. I mean, I don't know how factual it is. I've actually compared this big boy next to a USA big boy, and there's differences. It's careful, you might get pushed down the stairs again. Yeah, you're not just whistling Dixie. I don't feel safe at home. There's only about an inch and a half difference in length as far as the MTH big boy versus the USA big boy. Now, there's a massive difference in weight. The USA big boy doubles in weight compared to the MTH. So to me, it's not enough of a difference. I lost screen here again. Hold on one second.
you're fine.
So and to be honest with you, like I said, I didn't want to have limitations as to where I can run the train on my layout. And I really didn't want to go through modifying my layout again, since I already went through it once. I got rid of all my 8-foot curves and got 10-foot curves. And I said to myself, well, I'm never going to have an engine that big that I'm going to need something bigger than 10-foot curves. And I really wanted a USA big boy. But I am extremely happy with the decision of getting the MTH because, for one, it was half the price. And I think maybe they sell it by weight. I don't know. It's half the weight, half the price. And the smoke unit on this MTH is just phenomenal. And it's the only engine that I have left the smoke generators in. Every other engine I have, I take the smoke generators out because I can't run the big boy without putting smoke juice in it. It just doesn't look right. And it's funny that I don't know if you can see it or not, but this bottle says big boy juice on it. So it's yeah, it's just, I think it looks thoroughly impressive with the smoke bellowing out of it. Even on windy days, it looks good. So I had no regrets buying the MTH, none at all.
No, I mean,
But
my biggest setback with them was the DCS stuff, but you seem to get around that with the Wi-Fi module you put into it, or you had put into it.
yeah, so I had Rayman, who is on YouTube also, and that's how I found the 4004. I had him install a Wi-Fi unit in the tender. So I actually control the train with my phone or my iPad. And I can also hook up one of my AirWire battery cars to the back, and I can run it AirWire. I can actually flip a switch and run it track power if I wanted. So I have all these options to run the thing. And I think by far the Wi-Fi controls, once you get used to them and you know, not having to use a remote like this, once you get used to the Wi-Fi controls, it's really easy to do. Let me see if I can pull it up here. So there's the Wi-Fi controls, and it just you control the speed. You can hit the bell. You can horn. If you go to the next page, you can turn on the smoke and shut the smoke off. You can turn lights off. You can open the couplers. You can do whatever you want with it. I'm really, really very happy with that decision of doing the MTH with all the extra custom modifications to it. So no regrets, not even one letter.
There's not enough time in life for regrets.
Yeah, that's
Right.
for sure.
Right.
So I know we're coming up on our
So
2 hour mark here. So unless we have some more questions from the audience,
we did have started asking a question, but I really don't know that it's one that any of us can answer a whole lot. You might be able to say something on it, Sean, since I know you.
this is the only MTH engine that I have, so I honestly have no input. I thought about getting a Dash 8 just to run behind this. But to be honest with you, I just want it as an empty shell to put extra batteries in. It doesn't need the pulling power, that's for darn sure. I don't have enough cars to make this thing struggle. So, but as far as that goes, I can't answer the question because this is the only MTH engine that I have.
Yeah, I don't have enough experience for their Gauge 1 lineup to answer that, but I do know they make some nice O-Gauge stuff. But I just don't know enough about their Gauge 1 lineup.
Jonathan, how long?
Leviathan. Yeah, I can go a long time there, Rich. Thanks. He's just a fish nerd.
I figured it had to be somebody that you know.
I thought you were supposed to bring me fish, Rich.
So I would, at this point in time, then I would like to go ahead and try and wrap the show up because I know we try to promise the viewers a 2 hour mark, and we definitely enjoyed having you on the show and talking about how you got into G-scale trains and showing your Garden Railroad and the different phases and your experience and advice and from being on the contractor side. I'm hoping and I'm sure that it will be helpful to the viewers that we have here. So it was all very good stuff. I liked how you mixed both of the best worlds of your fish hobby and your train hobby together. That really worked out well, especially that aquarium car. That's just so cool. And I also liked how you built your G-scale layout up on the ceiling like that. That's a very nice idea as well. And I just love the bridges and stuff. I mean, it was all good, great things that you brought to the show, showing people. Did you have any
Well, thank you.
final? Did you have any final thoughts or any advice you want to give to anybody before we say goodbye tonight?
I think the biggest and best thing that I've ever done in G scale is putting the same couplers on everything that I own. And that I think is probably, if not number one, number two, the best advice I can give anybody is if you standardize everything, then you're not screwing around trying to figure out what cars you can run with what and so on and so forth. It's kind of like HO in that aspect. You can just grab a car and hook it on and go and have at it. And then I think the other thing is in reality, they're your trains, they're your layout. Run what you want. I wouldn't let someone bully you into saying that you have to have the same gauge or the same scale or whatever. You run what you like. Whatever makes you happy, do it.
Absolutely.
About the best advice I can give, and that's really any hobby. Do what you like.
And do you have any closing thoughts for the show for tonight, MrPictovid?
Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't have many thoughts. I think Jonathan has been a wonderful guest tonight. I think everybody seemed to enjoy everything he had to show us and talk about. I can't wait to see as you finish and go along with the rest of your phase 2 when it's done in 10 years or a year. I don't, whenever that's going to be. Just kidding. More than anything, thanks for coming on, Jonathan. And I really wasn't too sure if we'd have a whole lot of people watching tonight or not, but I mean, right now we're sitting at 40 people watching us. So,
wow.
Apparently,
for Christmas night.
Yeah, that was kind of a big debate if we should still do it or not. Wondering if we're going to get anybody to watch, but apparently we did. You have star power, Jonathan.
Woohoo!
And
I'll do an autograph signing session the weekend after 4th of July. How's that?
There we go.
And Andrew's also created a website for those who don't know, so we don't have to keep announcing on 2 different Facebook pages. You want to talk a little bit about that real quick, Andrew?
Yeah, it's actually scrolling at the banner at the bottom there. I may not put the website link in the description for this video, but yeah, obviously the way Sean and I share the show, it turns into a bit of a juggling act trying to tell people where to find it. So if you go to largescaletrains.com is the website we set up. On the very main page of that, if you scroll down, the first thing you'll see is the link to the upcoming or most current live show. So whenever you're looking, wanting to know where to go to watch it, you can just go to largescaletrains.com. We'll have it updated with the link. Same way if you want to watch any of the past shows. I know we have the shared playlist, but that can be a little fiddly. There's a link on there as well. I have all the past live streams embedded on there. You can go on there and watch them. And I do have the schedule for the upcoming shows on there. It's not really fleshed out a whole lot. I have a lot of tentative things set up, but most of them don't get nailed down until a week or 2 ahead of time. So you're not going to see anything on there for the most part as far as who's the guest going to be or anything. I mainly just have the date and time of when the shows are going to be, which of course is every 2 weeks, but it's nice to have a visual confirmation. You can go and look and say, hey, that's right, there's no show tonight, or there is. Or so hopefully the website can grow into something a little bit more than that, but it's a starting point. I hope it makes things a little bit easier for everybody to find the show. And then Sean and I don't have to do a whole juggling act at the end of each show of, well, whose channel do we check next week? So largescaletrains.com is your one place you can go, and you can see where the show's going to be. Click the link. It'll take you right to the channel, so you don't have to go on YouTube and search around for it.
Yep. So we wanted a one-stop shop as far as information, so you're not juggling between Facebook pages and YouTube. So it's a good idea that Andrew had as far as the website. And so make sure you check that out. Put that on your favorites on your internet. And so with that being said, thank you, Zachary, and everybody else. Thank you very much for spending your Christmas night with us, and I hope everybody had a good Christmas and stay safe. And we'll see you next time around on our next show. And I'd like to say goodbye to everybody. So,
Good night. Merry Christmas, everybody.
good night.
Good night, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.